Hey guys, welcome back to more revenge family drama stories. In this video, OP worked 60-hour weeks, skipped vacations and saved every penny to buy his dream home. He then got sued by his own parents for ownership of the house. They insisted that his entitled golden child sister deserved a home instead. Let's dive right into the video. So this whole mess started when I finally saved enough money to buy a decent place after years of living in crappy apartments and eating ramen for dinner more nights than I care to admit. A little background about me: I'm the oldest of two kids and my sister has always been the golden child in the family. Not in a subtle way either, we are talking full-blown favoritism. For example, my sister got a new car for her 16th birthday while I got a used bike from a garage sale. She got college fully paid for while I worked nights at a warehouse to cover my tuition. The pattern was pretty clear from early on. I graduated with a degree in IT, landed a decent job and spent the next few years living like a monk to save for a house down payment. No fancy vacations, no expensive hobbies, just work and saving every penny I could. Meanwhile though, my sister bounced between part-time jobs, lived at home rent-free and spent most of her time posting Instagram stories about brunch and shopping trips funded by our parents. When I finally had enough saved up, I found this perfect little place. A 2-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood with a small yard and a garage. The seller was motivated, I got pre-approved for the mortgage and everything went smoothly. I was honestly proud of myself for pulling it off completely on my own. The problem started almost immediately after I moved in. Sister showed up at my housewarming party uninvited, walked through every room like she was conducting an inspection and made comments about how lucky I was to afford such a nice place. Then she started talking about how unfair it was that I got to buy a house while she was still living with our parents at 25. "It's not really fair, you know," she said, running her fingers along my new granite countertops. "You've always been better with money, but that doesn't mean you should get everything first." I laughed it off because honestly, what else could I do here? Tell her that working 60-hour weeks while she posted TikTok videos was not exactly luck? That skipping every social event for 3 years to save money was not some magical advantage? But then our parents started chiming in with their opinions about my good fortune, and according to them I should be more generous with my success. After all, family is supposed to help family, right? The first real warning sign came during Sunday dinner at their house about a month after I had moved in. My dad started talking about how nice it would be if sister could get her start in homeownership and how difficult the housing market had become for young people. My mom nodded along, adding that sister had been looking at places, but everything was so expensive. "Maybe there's some way you could help her out," Mom suggested with that tone that she used when she wasn't really suggesting anything. "You've got that big house all to yourself." I explained that I had a mortgage, property taxes and home maintenance costs that pretty much ate up any extra income I might have had. Besides, my sister was an adult who could figure out her own housing situation like everyone else, but that did not go over well. The conversation got tense fast, with my dad pointing out that families should stick together and my mom wondering aloud why I was being so selfish, according to her. Sister just sat there, looking hurt and put upon like I had personally kicked a puppy. Things escalated from there. Phone calls about how I was not thinking about family, comments about how some people forget where they come from when they get successful, passive-aggressive social media posts about siblings who supposedly don't support each other. The full guilt trip arsenal, basically. I tried to ignore it and focus on settling into my new place, but the pressure kept building. Every family gathering became an opportunity for someone to mention my sister's housing situation and my apparent unwillingness to help. They would talk about other families where siblings helped each other out, about how family bonds were more important than money, and about how disappointing it was when success went to someone's head. The breaking point came during Thanksgiving dinner. Sister announced that she had found the perfect house, but she needed help with the down payment. Before I could even respond, my dad jumped in with a solution. "Your brother has all that extra space in his house. Maybe you could move in there for a while and save up money for your own place." I nearly choked on my mashed potatoes. What? No, I didn't buy a house to become someone's roommate. "It is just temporary," Mom added quickly. "Just until she gets on her feet." My sister looked at me with those wide eyes she had perfected in childhood already. I would not be any trouble, I'm hardly ever home anyway. I stood my ground though. I said, I'm sorry, but no. I bought this house for myself, not as a transitional housing solution for family members. The table went silent except for the sound of my dad's fork hitting his plate. That's incredibly selfish, he said finally. It's practical, I replied. I work from home now. I need my space, my privacy and my routine. This is not negotiable. Sister started crying, of course, not loud sobbing, just those perfect tears that had gotten her out of trouble and into whatever she wanted for most of our lives already. Mom comforted her while shooting daggers at me with her eyes. I don't understand where we went wrong with you, she said quietly but loud enough for everyone to hear. Your sister just needs a little help getting started. I left early that night thinking the whole thing would blow over once they realized I was not gonna budge. I figured they would find some other solution. Maybe my sister would move out of their house eventually and life would go back to normal. But I was very wrong. A few weeks later, I got a call from my dad asking about the title and deed to my house. Specifically, he wanted to know if I'd received all the paperwork from the closing and whether everything had been filed correctly with the county. It seemed like an odd question, but I told him everything had been handled properly by my realtor and the title company too. Good, he said. Just making sure you don't run into any problems. Sometimes there are issues with paperwork, you know. Well, I didn't think much of it at the time. My dad has always been the type to worry about administrative details, and buying a house does involve a lot of documentation. So I figured he was just being protective in his own way. Then I got a notice in the mail that made my blood run cold. It was a legal document informing me that my parents were filing a lawsuit claiming partial ownership of my property. According to the papers, they were alleging that they had provided financial assistance for the purchase and were entitled to a percentage of the home's equity. I read the document 3 times before it finally sank in. They were actually trying to force me out of my own house through legal action and essentially evict me from my property. The specifics of their claim were creative actually, I will give them that. They alleged that family financial support over the years, including helping with college expenses and various gifts, constituted a loan that had been used towards the house purchase. They claimed there had been a verbal agreement that they would have ownership stake in any property I bought. Most ridiculously, they argued that because I was their child, they had inherent rights to any major assets I acquired. None of it was true, but it was crafted carefully enough that I knew they had gotten some kind of legal advice somewhere. Someone had helped them figure out how to make this look legitimate. I called them immediately. My hands were shaking as I dialed the number. My dad answered on the second ring. What the hell is this? I asked, trying to keep my voice level. And by the way, guys, just to quickly interject here, if this would have happened to you, that your own parents tried to sue you to essentially evict you from your own house, what would you have done and how would you have reacted? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, please don't forget to like the video. What is what? He replied, but his tone told me that he knew exactly what I was actually talking about. Well, the lawsuit. You're trying to take my house? There was a pause. We're not trying to take anything. We're just asserting our legal rights here. We helped you get where you are, and now it's time for the family to benefit from that. You didn't help me buy this house. I saved for it myself. We raised you, fed you, and put you through school. That's an investment, and now you need to recognize that. I was speechless. The audacity was really breathtaking. So what's the end game here? You evict me out and give the house to my sister? Sister deserves her chance at home ownership. You've had yours. Now you can find an apartment like everyone else your age. So yeah, consider it a legal and necessary eviction for the greater good of our family. Family supports family, don't be selfish. I hung up before I said something I would regret, or maybe something I wouldn't regret but that could be used against me in court. The next few weeks there were lots of phone calls with lawyers, document gathering, and trying to figure out how to defend myself against my own parents. The whole situation felt surreal, like I'd woken up in some alternative universe where families sue their own children out of spite and entitlement. My lawyer was confident that their case was weak, but he warned me that fighting it would be expensive and time-consuming. They were counting on me not having the resources or the will to drag this through the courts, and they figured I would just give in and hand over the keys rather than deal with the stress and legal fees. However, they figured wrong. During the discovery phase, something interesting happened. My lawyer requested documentation of any financial contributions my parents had made towards the house purchase, and they had to produce bank records, cancelled checks, and any written agreements related to their claims. What we found was fascinating. Not only was there no evidence of any contributions towards my house purchase, but there was a clear paper trail showing that they'd been planning this scheme for months. Bank statements showed large transfers between their accounts in the weeks before they filed the lawsuits. Email records from their lawyer showed correspondence going back to before I'd even bought the house. Most damning was a series of text messages and emails between my parents and sister that came to light when they were forced to turn over their phones during discovery. Messages like, "Don't worry, we will get him out of there soon," and "The lawyer thinks we have a good case for claiming ownership." There was even one from my sister saying, "I cannot wait to redecorate this place." They had literally planned to steal my house from the beginning. But the real goldmine came when we discovered that they had taken out a home equity loan on their own house to pay for this lawsuit. They were so confident in their ability to force me out of my own home that they had to bet their own house on it. That's when I decided to go nuclear. See, I'd been thinking small up to that point. I just wanted them to drop the lawsuit and leave me alone. But when I realized that they had orchestrated this whole thing as a calculated scheme to steal my property and give it to my sister, I got really angry. My lawyer and I developed a strategy. Instead of just defending against their claims, we went on the offensive. We filed countersuit for fraud, attempted theft, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We documented every threat, every guilt trip, every attempt at manipulation. We also did something they probably didn't expect. We investigated sister's finances, and it turns out she wasn't just some struggling adult trying to get her start in life. She had been using their credit cards for personal expenses and had access to a joint checking account that she treated like her personal piggy bank. Most interesting was the fact that she had actually qualified for her own mortgage months earlier, but had turned it down. Not because she couldn't afford it, but because she decided she wanted a bigger and nicer house instead. My house specifically. The more we dug, the clearer it became that this was never about my sister needing help or something. This was about them thinking I should settle for less so she could have more. They genuinely believed that I should give up the house I had worked for so hard so she could skip the saving and sacrifice part and jump straight to home ownership. When we presented our evidence in court, their case fell apart completely. Not only did the judge dismiss their claims, but he was clearly annoyed that they had wasted the court's time with what he called frivolous litigation. He ordered them to pay my legal fees and issued sanctions for bringing a bad faith lawsuit. However, that was just the beginning of their problems. During the legal discovery process, we uncovered evidence of unreported gifts to my sister that we forwarded to the IRS. My lawyer said it could take months or years for them to act on it, but it was another problem they'd had to deal with down the line. Between potentially unpaid taxes, penalties, and interest, they could be looking at a substantial bill somewhere down the road. The home equity loan they had taken out to fund their lawsuit? Well, when you lose the lawsuit and have to pay other sides' legal fees plus your own legal bills, that loan becomes a lot harder to manage, especially when your retirement income is fixed and you've just blown through most of your savings on a failed legal gambit. Sister also faced her own potential consequences, those credit card charges and joint account withdrawals. It turns out when you're not authorized to use someone's credit cards for personal expenses, that can be considered fraud. And when your parents report those transactions to try to reduce their own tax liability, it creates a paper trail that could lead to problems down the road. The best part was watching their plan completely backfire. Instead of getting my house, sister ended up moving back in with our parents because she could no longer afford to move out. Instead of me being forced to downgrade to an apartment, they were now the ones facing potential foreclosure. Instead of family bonding through sister's success, they were dealing with financial stress and potential legal investigations. I, on the other hand, came out ahead. Their legal fees payment covered my costs and then some, and the stress of the lawsuit was over. Most importantly, I had complete documentation of their behavior, which made my decision to cut contact completely justified and easy. The phone call started as soon as the financial reality set in for them. My dad called first, not to apologize, but to suggest that maybe we could work something out since we were family. When I pointed out that family members don't generally sue each other out of greed, he got defensive and hung up. My mom tried a different approach, focusing on how disappointed she was and how everything had turned out. According to her, this was all just a misunderstanding that had gotten out of hand. If I would just sit down and talk like a reasonable person, we could put this behind us. There's nothing to talk about, I told her. You tried to steal my house. My sister went along with it, my dad mortgaged your retirement to fund it. These were not mistakes or misunderstandings, these were deliberate choices. My sister's calls were the most interesting here. She alternated between trying to guilt-trip me about how hard things were for her now and getting angry that I wouldn't just forgive and forget since the lawsuit was over. She seemed genuinely confused that actions had consequences, like the whole thing thing had just been an elaborate prank that I was taking too seriously. "I was not gonna really take your house," she insisted during one particular ridiculous conversation. "I just wanted you to help me find a place." "And you would have done so by suing me and trying to force me out of mine?" "We knew you wouldn't lose. We just wanted you to realize that family is more important than property." The delusion was breathtaking. They had actually convinced themselves that attempting to steal my house was some kind of character-building exercise for me. I changed my phone number, blocked them on social media, and made it clear through my lawyer that any further contact with me would result in harassment charges for them. I also sent a letter to their lawyer informing him that any future legal action would be met with additional countersuits for vexatious litigation. The last I heard, they managed to avoid foreclosure by selling their house and moving into a smaller apartment. Sister was working retail and living with them in their new cramped quarters. Dad's retirement plans had been pushed back indefinitely due to their financial losses. My mom was apparently telling people that I had turned greedy and abandoned the family over money. Meanwhile, I'm still in my house. I've paid down the mortgage significantly with the money they were forced to pay me. I've renovated the kitchen, finished the basement, and turned the spare room into a home office. Property values in the neighborhood have increased, so the house is worth substantially more than I paid for it. More importantly though, I've learned that just because people are related to you doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. Some families are just toxic, and sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to walk away completely. I've built a life surrounded by people who actually care about me rather than what I can do for them. With friends who congratulate me when I succeed rather than complaining that it makes them look bad, co-workers who respect my boundaries rather than constantly pushing me to give more than I'm comfortable giving, and sometimes people ask if I miss my family or if I ever regret going no contact, but the answer is no. You don't miss people who try to steal from you. You don't regret protecting yourself from people who view your success as their entitlement. And the next one is a fantastic petty revenge story that is titled "Ex's Husband Cannot Seem to Get Over Me." And by the way guys, if you enjoy these revenge stories, please don't forget to like the video. Thank you so much. So I dated a girl long distance for a year back in 2010. We broke up rather amicably, or so I thought. Her new boyfriend, now her husband, called me about a month later telling me that she had been seeing him behind my back and that she never really loved me, etc. Personally, I laughed it off. I knew the relationship wasn't going anywhere, and I'd been looking for an easy way out for months. Being long distance made it much easier though. But apparently, it made him feel good about himself. Well, fast forward a few years. They are married and he's traveling for work, which included a layover in my city. He posted something about me from the airport and tagged a mutual friend of mine, so I saw the post. Something along the lines of, "Mr. Steal your girl back in your city." I know it was about me because the friend tagged me, asked what he was talking about, and he mentioned me. Apparently he has made several posts like this, both before and after I saw this one. I haven't seen or talked to either my ex or him since about a month after he called me years ago, during which there were several petty interactions. However, the fact that I was still on his mind after a few years, thinking that he had won some sort of competition against me, got my petty revenge thoughts brewing. I mean, he thinks it's a petty competition, so why not step up to the plate and take a few metaphorical swings? On this occurrence, I looked through his socials and noticed that they were living in my ex's house, so I knew the address. I also knew that you can sign people up to be visited by Jehovah's Witnesses, and fast forward another few months, there's a new post about him having to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses coming to his door 8 times in a month. And yeah guys, I gotta say, that's one of my favorite ways of getting petty revenge on someone. The next one is titled "My Wife Got Pregnant But I Am Sterile." I, 27 male, found this out about my wife, 26 female, after seeing her messages pop up while setting up her new phone. Gotta love Apple backups. So I suffered a terrible skateboarding accident at 15 that unfortunately left me 100% sterile. Like, the parts responsible for baby Beta got removed and replaced with prosthetics, so there's no chance this is my kid. I called her best friend and asked what was going on, and she acted so happy to learn that we were having a kid, but after I explained to her that I'm not capable of having children, she got super quiet and then hung up and immediately texted my wife about it. I just left the messages up on her laptop and phone, packed a bag, and now I am at a friend's house getting drunk. I honestly don't know what to do. Any advice? ETA, I'm on the spectrum, so dealing with emotions is not a strong suit of mine. I just want to ghost her with divorce papers, but I keep thinking that this would be too harsh, but after everything I've done for her, this is how she treats me. I seriously need help. Comment number 1. If you stay married, you will be listed as the father on the birth certificate. You will need to go to court to get the paternity removed from the birth certificate. It's your choice to stay, but make sure you don't become responsible for a kid that is not yours. Comment number 2. Well, look at all the possibilities. You are sterile, she's been faithful, you had a miracle child. Number 2. You are sterile, she cheated and got pregnant by another man. Number 3. You are sterile, the child is in fact yours and it's a miracle, and she still cheated. Only situation number 1 is the one you can stay in, the rest you have to go your separate ways, but potentially with additional responsibilities. Update to the story. First, I will clarify a few things from the last post. So, I suffered a skateboarding accident at 17 that caused severe damage to my bits and the tubes that run to them, and they had to be removed and replaced with prosthetics, rendering me 100% sterile. This was double checked 3 years after the accident, and I was still 100% sterile, so there's no way the child is mine. I was in the process of transferring her data from her old iPhone to her new one, and I saw a photo of a positive pregnancy test in her iCloud. I'm not proud, but I did a little snooping and found her conversation with her BFF talking about it, and okay, here's the update. After a long and difficult talk with her and her dad, we decided that we are gonna separate and file the papers with the county we currently reside in. We'll have to be separated for a year before we can legally divorce, and we'll be doing the paternity test when the baby is born. In the meantime, we broke the lease, which she paid for, and we will have until January 20th to clean out the apartment, and after that, we will go our separate ways for now. My lawyer and I decided it would be best for her to stay on my insurance until after the birth of the baby, but I will not be going to appointments, nor will I be there when the child is born. As far as I'm concerned, we are done, and there is no chance of reconciliation because cheating is an unforgivable sin in my book. She fundamentally ruined my trust in her, and if we stay together, I would constantly be wondering if she will do the same thing again, and I don't want or need that in my life. If you're unhappy and you're not capable of having a discussion with your partner about your feelings to try and come to a resolution that not only benefits you but also your relationship, you are an emotionally immature person and we are not compatible together. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I would say props to OP, that was a very wise decision and a very mature one, but please let me know what you would have done in this situation. Would you have forgiven the cheating wife? Or would you have done the same as OP? Let me know in the comments. The next one is titled, Husband hired my friend to strip at his bachelor party. 4 years ago, I got married to my husband after dating for 6 years, so 10 years in total. My friend Rebecca has stripped since she was 21. She stopped last year after getting married and is gonna be a stay-at-home mom when her baby is born. Since our children, we are very close and we are basically neighbors, she lives at the bottom of the road we live on, and last week one of my husband's friends visited at the same time as Rebecca, as I had made plans to shop with her. I forgot to cancel and then she showed up. After she left, my husband's friend commented that he cannot believe we are still friends after the bachelor party. When I asked my husband what his friend meant, he refused to comment, and we got into a huge fight over it when he told me Rebecca had been the stripper at his bachelor party. I texted Rebecca in the moment that I don't want her around anymore, but she has not responded in a week. I feel betrayed by the both of them, but I know it was just her job. To be honest, I miss Rebecca a lot, but I am so hurt I don't know what to do. Update, I confronted them both separately, and they both gave 2 very different stories. Rebecca says that my husband got drunk, groped her, and when she refused, he pushed her and started to yell at her. Apparently, my husband and his friends believe I should not be friends with her because she led them on. My husband says that they didn't sleep together, but Rebecca tried to initiate and performed oral while he was blackout drunk. I'm staying with my parents because I don't know who to believe here, or if I should even believe either of them. All I've done is argue with my husband since the confession. I'm left more confused than ever, and honestly, I just want to say F the both of them, but if my husband's story is true, then he is totally innocent, but what if Rebecca is telling the truth? But what if neither of them are? I am sick of them both. I haven't stopped crying since arriving at my mother's, to be honest, and I don't think I can. Why would he hide this for 4 years? Why would she? If they both believe they are fully innocent and the victims here, my husband is a mean drunk, but he's always so soft-spoken, and I don't know if he can do those things Rebecca claimed, but I don't know how he reacts around his friends, but I've known him longer than Rebecca too. Finally though, I'm all for believing women. I feel like by agreeing with my husband, I'm denying Rebecca's story/side. Update number 2. I realize I don't care anymore. I've done nothing but think about my husband throughout our marriage. My entire life has revolved around him, all my thoughts revolved around him, and I finally realized I'm the only one that has been keeping this marriage going. I've been relying on him and forgiving him for such a lot of BS because I don't have anyone else. I gave him everything and that's not happening anymore. Maybe finding out about Rebecca just sped things up. Maybe I relied too heavily on my husband. I told him this morning that it is over. He has yet to stop texting me begging for a chance. I texted Rebecca and told her I no longer want her in my life either. Both have confessed to sleeping together and continuing to do so. My husband out of anger to insult me, and maybe Rebecca wanted a last F you. Rebecca's baby is my husband, so to say F you back, I messaged her partner to let him know. I am devastated obviously, but now we have to make plans about what's happening with the house and custody, and I cannot afford to continue crying about it. Rebecca's partner let me know at 6 p.m. that she has moved. He helped her move all of her stuff into my husband's house. It all happened so fast and I cannot believe I was so oblivious to it. Maybe I wanted to be. Once again, thanks for all the comments and messages, it really made me open my eyes. It all happened so fast that I don't have time to process it at all. Looks like they wanted me to find out before she gave birth. A nice happy family now. And here, Ripestars, unfortunately that is how the story ends. That is just how relationship advice on Reddit is. It's not like the revenge stories that we usually read where there's like a happy ending and the bad guy gets what he deserves, or she deserves in this case. So that's why I'm curious, please let me know in the comments if you enjoy these relationship stories as well. I am very curious about your feedback. And the next one is a petty revenge story that is titled "Tricked My Mom into Finally Admitting That My Cooking Was Actually Good." So I've been enrolled in a cooking school for over a year and my mom has never really been supportive of it because I dropped out of a nursing program to get into a cooking school. She's always making snide comments about how I should have been a nurse or a lawyer and how I'll only ever be a subservient housewife with this, and when I do make something, she always criticizes it. Like she is Gordon Ramsay or something. "Oh, too much salt. It is undercooked. It is raw. It looks like crap." Even though pretty much everyone else says the opposite, she is looking for any little thing she can critique about my cooking, and she keeps telling me that I cannot cook and I need to get into a real career. So, for context, I've cooked 3-course dinners for the family and they always get positive reviews except for her. She had a party for her work friends coming up, so I made a whole tray of my specialty take on homemade meatballs, a recipe I conceptualized myself, my signature dish, you could say. Everyone kept going back and getting more, so many that we actually ran out of it. I asked Mom what she thought and she said, "They were drunk, so they couldn't taste anything." Well, I figured if I wanted to get her to compliment my cooking, I would have to trick her. I cooked her a meal, one of her favorites from scratch, her biggest weakness that she can never resist, dressed it up to look professional, and put in a generic to-go box and had my boyfriend take a video of me preparing it, start to finish. I called her and told her that my boyfriend and I were eating at this diner that doesn't exist, made up a fake name for it and everything, and I told her that they had her favorite meal and asked if she wanted us to bring her one. Of course, she said yes, so I brought the dish and told her more about the fake diner. She started eating it and complimented how good it was, how she wanted to go there and get another one. After she was almost through with the meal, I asked her for her honest opinion so we could write a review on Yelp, and she went on for like 10 minutes about how great it was, and then it sprung on her that I cooked it. Her tone changed, she put the fork down and said that she was lying, that it actually tasted like crap. My boyfriend showed her the video, she googled the restaurant, and it didn't show up. She started pointing out flaws with the meal, like how there was too much sauce and it was really spicy and burned her mouth. I asked her why she almost finished the whole thing if it was so spicy, but she didn't say anything. So I just asked her if she was ready to admit it. She said no, so we left, but I spotted her eating it from the other room. I asked her again and she laughed and finally told me yes, I'm a good chef. So after a year of doubting I was a good chef and holding my dreams back, she finally admitted it. And yeah guys, thank you for watching, I will see you again tomorrow.